Welcome back. Good to have you with us. Still Kate Abdo, Thierry Henry, Jamie Carragher, Micah Richards. One of the storylines coming into tonight's Champions League action is the fact that Xabi Alonso is overseeing his first game as a Champions League manager, now appointed at the helm at Bayer Leverkusen. And that kind of just made us think about the idea of great players or former great players becoming managers, becoming coaches. Obviously, we have one in our midst as well, as in Thierry Henry, currently the assistant manager at Belgium and formerly a manager in his own right at a variety of different clubs. And I guess, Thierry, it just made us kind of wonder, what is it that's defining in this conversation about former great players becoming great managers? Because some do and some don't. What is the recipe for success in that?
Well, first and foremost, you need to understand it's a different ballgame when you compare it to when you were an ex-player, to move it to a new manager. You have also some not great footballers that were also awful managers. And you never throw that in the basket sometimes. So because you're known, because you had a great career, suddenly becomes a thing. Like if a great player suddenly goes to a normal team, suddenly everyone will follow that team and kind of look at what the guy is doing. So it's a different thing. But I always say that an ex-player, a great ex-player, needs great players because they do understand each other.
Can you talk me about your time at Monaco?
My time at Monaco was, you know, when you sign for a team and they give you 3 years, you kind of think you're going to have time to adjust and make sure that you can do something, right? I arrived, we had 13 to 17 players injured. So that's how I arrived in the team, and I would say 10 to 11 of them were maybe starters. They could have been starters, right? So I had young teams, and what you do, you assess the situation. When can you make sure that those guys can be fit? You play every 3 days, and when you have a break, they go to the national team. When do you reassess them? It's tough. You can't train them. So I looked at this at the calendar. I said we have to battle against, you will know, but Amiens and Caen. So I targeted those games. We won them, but I'm like, okay, we lost a lot along the way because we were playing with a lot of youngsters. And then 2.5 months after, you get the sack. And I'm like, how do you want someone to change? Whether you feel a great ex-player or not.
Well, does that experience, you just said initially you've got a 3-year deal, but you're not naive enough to know that you're going to have 3 years. You have to get results, but 2.5 months, I agree, seems very early. But does that experience put you off going back into management?
No, not at all, because I feel like I need to give something.
To who?
To whoever wants to listen to it, or give it to some. For me, the youngsters is always a priority.
Do you want to go back into management almost to prove something to yourself, that you can be a success in management, or is it to give something to players?
No, you always hear, and I met Mike Phelan one time, and he looked at me and he said to me, "You got the sack. Now you're a manager." That's what he said to me first thing. I don't know if it was a joke or not. I looked at him and I went, okay. But no, I just want to go back and help. And especially the youngsters. Look, after that, I went to Montreal. People will say, oh, that's not very glamorous. It's not about that. It's about me getting better. But also, the best relationship I've had in those teams so far is with the youngsters.
But do you think it's hard for the youngsters looking up to you, Thierry Henry? They think there's added pressure on them because you were so great in the game.
I explained to you what's tough. And they said to you, you talk about it as a coach. Then if they don't understand, you show it. You know, screens, it's a generation of screens, right? And if not, when you have something to show on the field, you have to demonstrate it. That's how it is. And that's how you do it. In our time, it was shut up and play and find a way. Yeah. Not nowadays. Sometimes you end up showing something and you're freezing players when you were, in bracket, someone that could do it at ease because they're like, you go after him. Because I'm not going after him after what he did it so well. But then great players will not feel shocked by the guy that's there. Like, for example, when Zizou, because I see him, when Zizou says something maybe to Ronaldo, he's impressed, but he's not impressed in a way. Perfect example is Ancelotti that I had, which, by the way, is an outstanding coach. Can't make Everton play. Yeah. Goes to Madrid, he wins the Champions League. What that's supposed to mean? I think that sometimes managers are made to have great players and some are teachers.
What are you?
I think that I can teach, but it's easier if you have great players. The perfect example is, for me, Pep and Xavi. We've just heard Guillaume talking about Xavi. If he doesn't win tonight, he might be in trouble. It's ridiculous. In the situation that you arrived with, let's remember how they were and where they are. It's not the end of the world. You were supposed to win against Bayern and you got robbed against Inter. But if he doesn't win tonight, he will be in trouble. Why is that? And I will compare him to Pep. When Pep arrived, I won't go through the squad that he had, but it's not the same as Xavi with youngsters. Do you understand what I mean? And Pep went to Bayern. And am I saying he's not a good coach? Not at all, because for me, tactically, he's by far the best that I had. Can he improve you? Yes, but he's not trying to improve someone at Bolton, is he?
Have you had many job offers of late? And do you think people are maybe put off by maybe what happened at Monaco or Montreal? You weren't there that long.
Yes, I would like to think so, maybe, but I turned some down because I want to see it through with Belgium and not leave them on the way to the World Cup, because it's a weird one to leave. But people sometimes think that maybe ex-players are waiting for a glamorous place to go. I went to Montreal. And don't get me wrong, I left, and I explained it yesterday, because I didn't see my kids for a year, and it started to be tough, so I came back. But I'm not like that. If whatever situation that can come my way, I'll take it.
So what level we're talking about?
I don't know.
Championship.
It's a very, very difficult one to. If you said to me, "Will you go back to them in the MLS?" I would have gone like, "I don't know," but I took it. Do you understand what I mean? I didn't know that COVID was going to happen.
What about you? You've said openly on the show, right, that you don't want to be in management. It's not a role that you aspire to. Was that always the case? And why, when you're somebody who clearly has a love for the game, right?
Yeah, I mean, it just came down to the fact that as I was getting to the end of my career, I can honestly say this, and this is true, there was nobody who loved football in that dressing room more than me. Impossible. And I'd go as far as to say my knowledge of the game was as good as anyone I was in a dressing room with. And mine had to be, because I wasn't as good a footballer as them. So the reason I played at the level I did was because of my understanding of the game, my focus, my determination. I wasn't great technically or physically, really. So that's what got me to the level of the game. So that's why I think I can talk about football, understand the game. So Steven Gerrard's become a manager. Xabi Alonso's just become a manager at Leverkusen. I never felt I was a place in a dressing room with those people, and they became managers. But the closer I got to the end of my career, I'd never moved. I'd never had to move my family. I was a one-club man. And I just looked at management and thought, I don't want it enough to relocate my family, live alone. And there was another thing that we're lucky in that we've played at the highest level, and financially, you get great rewards for that. And then you're coming up against the people who were the great managers in the Premier League when I was just finishing, was Rafa Benitez, Arsene Wenger, Sir Alex Ferguson, Jose Mourinho. None of them played at a high level. Some of them didn't even play football. I think Jose didn't even play. So what you've got is you're up against people in management and coaching who've got a burning desire and drive to get to the top because they know football, but they couldn't play it. And also a burning desire as well, maybe from the family and themselves, to earn good money, to provide a life for the wives and the families. And I was just thinking, would I have as much drive and passion as them? And I think either no, so I couldn't get to the top. And if I did, I think it would really affect me as a person, because I had that as a player and I didn't enjoy being a player enough because I was that sort of driven, and that would be a problem for me. So I took the decision to go into TV, and I couldn't think of anything worse than actually being a manager right now and changing the life I've got.
Micah, could we lose you to management?
Oh, no chance. I'm Hollywood, baby.
We know that. All right, listen, good chat. I enjoyed that, guys. We got more Champions League coming up for you after a very short break. Don't move.